Today marks the end of what is surely one of the worst terms in SCOTUS history. Guns and prayer and abortion got most of the attention, but that's not all the courts did. Here are just some of the court's bad decisions. Rivas Villegas, SCOTUS reversed the lower court to give a cop qualified immunity for using excessive force. Talaquan v. Bond, SCOTUS reversed the lower court to give a cop qualified immunity for killing a man. Shoup v. Tyford, SCOTUS made it harder to get habeas relief. Brown v. Davenport, SCOTUS made it harder to get habeas relief. Shin v. Ramirez, SCOTUS made it harder to get habeas relief. Zubeda, SCOTUS allowed the government to withhold information about torture on CIA black sites. Bayo Madero, SCOTUS denied Social Security benefits to the residents of Puerto Rico. That was another one. Shouts out to Puerto Rico. Cummings, SCOTUS disallowed recovery for emotional distress damages in civil rights lawsuits. Patel, SCOTUS stripped federal courts of jurisdiction to review fact issues in immigration proceedings. Biden v. Missouri, SCOTUS blocked a federal vaccine mandate. Garland v. Gonzalez, SCOTUS denied long-detained immigrants access to a bond hearing. I mean, we kind of gave up on the whole fucking... we kind of gave up on the vaccine mandates anyway. Like, it's just... That was not going to happen regardless. For those of you who are wondering what habeas relief is, it is unlawful detention and imprisonment. Habeas corpus is recourse that is afforded to every person on U.S. soil in U.S. courts that they can, report and push back against unlawful detention and imprisonment. And the thing is, this is a process that we avoided. Like, the reason why Guantanamo Bay is in Cuba technically is so that we could deny people that we consider terrorists their habeas corpus laws and unjustifiably detain them without any sort of legal recourse where they can go to the fucking court system and be like, hey, you're literally imprisoning me. I didn't do anything. Can you please look into this court case? It is like rule number one for human rights, and it is a complete fucking. I mean, we've already been denying the habeas corpus laws. I mean, habeas corpus rights to these people, and it's mostly used on Gitmo detainees. Yes, and this is just a continuation of that. Law tip: habeas corpus means you shall have your body in Latin. I spent too much money on my degree. Yeah, well, I mean, Gitmo was shut down. Shouts out to Barack Obama. Guantanamo Bay no longer exists, so... Oh, wait, that didn't happen. He just ran on that and then refused to do so. Johnson v. Ortega Martinez, SCOTUS denied long-detained immigrants access to a bond hearing. FEC versus Ted Cruz, SCOTUS struck down campaign finance restrictions that enabled Ted Cruz to pay himself back for loans he made to his own campaign. That's nice. Egbert v. Boole, SCOTUS further limited a person's ability to sue federal officers. Viga v. Teka, SCOTUS weakened enforcement of Miranda rights, as we talked about that as well. So, like, cops don't have to serve you, read you your rights, and they can, if you incriminate yourself, then, it's fine. They can still use that as testimony. Carson v. Macon, SCOTUS undermined the Establishment Clause, forcing states to fund private religious schools. This is going to be huge. This is a big one. Get ready for that. Kennedy v. Bremerton School District, SCOTUS undermined the Establishment Clause, allowing football coaches to have public/publicized Christian prayers of football games. Putting God back into schools as it was intended, brother. Dinespi, SCOTUS recognized tribal sovereignty just enough to allow an Indian defendant to be prosecuted twice for the same crime. No double jeopardy. Then, Castro Huerta, SCOTUS undermined tribal sovereignty by making tribal land part of the state and allowing state to exercise jurisdiction on tribal land. Now, this is a huge one. So now, even though tribal land is technically not federal land, is just autonomous. The federal government can come in and do whatever the fuck they want. They can also, they can prosecute you for shit that you've done on tribal land. Bruin, SCOTUS struck down New York's 100-year-old restriction on concealed carry to expand Second Amendment and gun limit restrictions, or limit gun restrictions. So they said states' rights for states when they want to fucking criminalize abortion. No states' rights if you want to stop people from having guns. You can't do that. US v. Texas, SCOTUS allowed Texas' bounty hunter anti-abortion law to go into effect. That's a wonderful one. I wasn't even aware of this one. That's just like a gimme. Where they said the bounty hunter, the bounty system to sidestep, they didn't even have to do this for the record. This is for fun because they already eviscerated Roe v. Wade. But hey, maybe California should have some fucking fun with this. I'm just saying, blue states with blue legislatures could fucking use the bounty hunter system too. We got an $88 billion surplus. I mean, build some fucking roads and public housing first. But then with the additional money remaining, you know, put a fucking pool of funds together to, like, I don't know, create a civil, I don't know, if someone's being homophobic, you can sue them. There you go. If someone has a gun, you can sue them. How about that? Use the bounty system. They've allowed you. The Supreme Court allows you to do that. Dobbs, SCOTUS overruled Roe and Casey, eliminating a federal right to abortion enables severe, life-threatening restrictions on abortion to go into effect. We already know that. West Virginia versus the EPA, which was today. SCOTUS undermined the EPA's ability to regulate emissions and fight global warming. And it must be noted that this isn't everything. SCOTUS also did things in the shadow docket, like allow Louisiana's racial gerrymander to stay in effect for the 2020 election, 2022 election, etc. Just a terrible, terrible term. Judicial review isn't in the Constitution, so all these fucks that refuse to honor state stare decisis by saying they're literal textualists. Well, since judicial review isn't in the document, the executive just needs to say, we don't have to listen or enforce these crank rulings. Yeah, it's true. That is true. But it's not going to happen because, you know, red states are going to do that. Russia can't win a war against the U.S., so they just make the country implode from within. It's so fucking obvious and no one does anything. You do not think this is Vladimir Putin, right? Vladimir Putin did not fucking develop the Federalist Society in 1982 when, like, the USSR was still around, brother. There's no fucking way you legitimately believe that. That has to be a shit pose. Is this the worst era of politics you've been through? Give me some good news. Yeah, it's pretty bad. Silly question, but why now, not right after the last reactionary justice was elected? Why didn't they do this under Trump? I don't know why. It's just like, I mean, you see it. Like, the Democrats aren't going to do anything anyway. And this way, all this shit's happening under a Democratic establishment, a Democratic leadership. They waited for the elections to end, basically. I think they didn't want to do this because this would have galvanized support. And at the time, they didn't know if Donald Trump was going to win or not, right? So they wanted to wait until the elections were over. And if Donald Trump was president, they were still going to do it. But if Joe Biden became president, they were still going to do it, right? And now they're just doing it. Do you understand? Like, if they did all this shit when Donald Trump was president, it would have solidified that Brandon would win. You know what I mean? Didn't they need a case to respond to though? They can't just make up rulings on the ether. Yeah, the ultra majority didn't happen until mid-election with Coney Barrett taking the bench. But also on top of that, like, they were just like they were waiting for a term. Like, they can't just like randomly decide. They did start this under Trump. All these cases and decided this term started in 2019 by red states. Yeah, exactly. It took 3 years to get to the Supreme Court. Several of these cases were presented in front of the Supreme Court last year. It just takes a long time. Exactly. COVID made it kind of harder to do things, and with Biden president now, it makes the Dems look incompetent and weak. I think that is. I don't think that the timing of it is like suspicious. I think the reason why they didn't do it originally in the last term when Trump was still president was, again, because a lot of the court cases were already in front of them, right? By that point, a lot of the cases they were talking about were already in front of them, but they didn't rule on them because they wanted to hold out, in my opinion, until the election was over. And that's why they waited for this term. Especially because at the time they didn't know if Donald Trump was going to be president again or not. But now, what are they going to do? What are the Democrats going to do? Nothing. They have no power. Or rather, the limited amount of power that they do have, they are not willing to enforce. They are not willing to break the fucking rules. They are not willing to do anything to change the outcome, the process. So what the fuck are they going to do? They just keep throwing up their hands, asking for fundraising, for more money, and telling you to vote harder.